Hello there! Welcome back to Charles Circle, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time, we finally got our long-planned endgame steel factory on Corvedia up and running. With scaled steel production and our farming and settlement revamp both complete, the only thing standing between us and the space program is aluminum production. So today, I want to start, but probably not finish, the aluminum process. We've still got a little bit of prep work to do yet, but I'm hoping we've at least pulled some bauxite ore out of the ground before the episode ends. Along the way, I've got a very long list of small changes, adjustments, and optimizations I'd like to take care of around the base. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so today's to-dos on the road to aluminum. So, in order to get bauxite ore out of the ground, we're going to need to complete this last stretch of terraforming. We're quite close, and that's on more or less autopilot. Then we'll need to build the bridge itself and connect it all up to our rail network, and then actually set up a mining crew out this way on this tiny little stretch of land that we have to work with. So that's all very doable, I think, within the span of one episode, but it is going to involve a good amount of just like the passage of time. So I spent a bit of time myself going around the base and putting together a list of all these little things that bother me. So in addition to doing a bit of decoration here and there, I'd like to chip away at this list as well. So I'll talk about each of that as we get to it, but let's start up here in this steel section. So with our new steel factory up and running, it's time to convert the old one here on St. Charles to recycling only. That'll mean a few great things, right? Moving to the recycling only recipe will cost us less coal for the same output, will generate less exhaust even. We won't have to export so much slag. We won't be eating limestone. We don't need to bring that in for the blast furnaces anymore. It'll also mean that we don't have to worry about this entire iron ore import and crushing operation. Of course, we do still have an active iron ore mine that we are importing from today, right? So what do we do with this? I tipped my hand at the end of last episode, but I think we are just going to shutter it for now. We have a lot, obviously, of iron ore out here locally on Corvedia. That's like the whole point of why we built it out here. And we're not set up to accept an iron ore import via train here. Even if we were, it's a pretty awkward trip to go all the way out and around just to, what, drop off some iron ore that we already have in massive excess here locally? So it's just not worth it. And there's no harm in mothballing this, right? It'll still be here if we need it. It's not really in the way. It's not like we actively need this space necessarily. So yeah, we're just gonna turn this off, essentially. So we will allow our trains to go ahead and pull the last bits of this out, the iron ore and then all of the landfill that is also piling up here. That's going to be a nice little reduction on our network as well. And the question becomes, all right, well, now we have a bit of an excess excavation crew out here on Islatres. Can we productively reallocate them? And the answer to that is yes. And what we're going to do is set up this sketched out previously mining operation over here. So the thought is basically that our coal situation is getting a little sketchy out here, both actually on St. Charles and on Silicon Ridge, but let's come back to Silicon Ridge. The issue here is the same thing that happens with all of our old deposits that are in a mountain, basically. We're just getting, as we go further and further in, it's less and less pure because there's just more and more rock. So the same number of excavators are producing less coal over time. As you can see, this is a very empty bucket. And that is, unfortunate. It's not the end of the world. We're obviously going to continue, pulling all of the last bits out that we can. But wouldn't it be nice if we took the pressure off by starting the next mine out here anyway with just a couple excavators? So we can sort of ship that all out. It'll require us to set up an import station over here. That's not a problem though. We'll also use this area, some combination of the excavators, I think. to chip away at this sand deposit. We can use sand, we can always use sand, but I'm actually, if anything, mostly just like looking at, I kind of want to be able to put another farm here to have a full 6-pack of farms eventually. We're going to build this today, I think, as well. At any rate, I think what we'll do is go ahead and get this started. These are just generic buckets for now. And I think this will be, yeah, this will be a fine spot for that. Let's go ahead and just let our trucks, no rush, get to building all of these. So this will be, call it dirt, rock, and coal for now. Maybe eventually sand as well. But no need to build the entire interior here, I don't think. We'll at least start like this. So once that's all up and running, I'll throw these excavators and their trucks out onto the coal mine and get that started. We're gonna let this finish draining, including, I think, the last bits from these haul trucks. So there's no rush on this front, but once that is done, then we'll do the recycling conversion over here. But we're just gonna get that process started now so it can trickle through. As I mentioned, the other thing we'll probably want to do is build ourselves a coal import. And we're just going to do the exact same thing that we have over here with wood, right? And might as well just leave it right there. It's probably about the same amount of volume. So I'll unpause that. This is maybe in the future for sand. Let's see. But I know for sure that we're going to want to do this today for coal already. So might as well. And what we'll do is drop-offs here and pickups here for local. And this will be, call it load coal here and here. And because we need our tracks to be, you know, still functional, we'll go ahead and Unity build that. But this will be unload coal here and here. Same thing. Now, with both of these, I think really at this point, we kind of want to get the turbine train network going, or at least sort of the larger ones. The coal, particularly in the distance, I think we do want to get this to be a turbine train drop-off, just for volume. And so what I'm going to do is two things. The first is add this station to the turbine train network. Bit of a no-brainer, of course. The other is to make this into a loop. Obviously, the terminus doesn't work with our turbine train model. So we're going to turn this segment into this direction only. I think we can, in fact, even clean that out entirely. And what we're going to do is make this turn out this way and connect actually onto this segment. We're going to do that at the same time that we change this return. So we've been dealing with traffic on this stretch. It actually looks great right now. That's because the traffic's all out here. I'll come back to it. But one of the things we can do, we've done previously, and you know, probably should always be keeping a sharp eye on, is only have the minimum necessary entrances and exits onto this main line. And so if we can have all of our returns go back here and then funnel together and then only enter the highway from this single point, it should hopefully help with traffic a little bit. So 2 birds, 1 stone. I'm gonna build all of this essentially, and these are all lined up basically so that we can continue this up to here. I'm not going to do it until I can delete these because forked path errors, but same thing here, right? And then let's get this connected up in both directions, actually, I would say. And we have the space out here, so you know what? Let's do the big turn radius. Why not? So I just have trouble eyeballing these larger ones, but I think that should do it. And then here in the other direction. Yeah, there we go. So cut this segment, but then these go like so. And I'll even, I suppose, go this far. And we'll connect them the last segment right when we are comfortable deleting the rest. Oh, and then of course need to connect this part. Perfect. Probably need to get a crossing in there somewhere. Probably here. Yeah, let's do that real quick too before I forget, huh? So one of these, call it there. And this guy here and here. So there we go. Cool. No rush on this front, but this should hopefully be helpful in this area. We do want to make sure, yep, the proper manufacturing network also has access to that coal. Cool. So let that go for a bit. We can, let's see, the other thing we can do in the steel section is remove steel from our Silicon Ridge material import. So we used to bring steel out here so there was local steel supply, along with concrete for paving and rail parts for making rails. We no longer need to worry about this for steel because we have just a ton of it, hopefully, coming in all the time from right next door. So this is no longer necessary. What I'm going to do, rather than deleting this specifically though, although I am going to remove this real quick, is just move the concrete one over one. It's a little awkwardly placed and sticking out always into the main line here, so it'd be better to just sort of steal this, move it over. So there we go, and I'll delete these and replace them quickly with electrified rail in this area, and speed it up real quick. There we go. Connect here. Probably ought to fill in the paving too, my goodness. But now that that's sorted, this is basically just, we need to run this down. So I'll delete this, and again, whenever our trucks get to it, we're just sort of giving them our long to-do list as well. The other thing we should do, our hydrogen, stockpile idea is a helpful tool in our running down the dirt stockpile that we've had. I will say it's working, right? It's coming down quite sharply, and that's great, but it doesn't solve things in the longer run. We need to increase our hydrogen consumption, and in a productive way, not just to light it on fire. So what I think we're going to do is pretty aggressively do the hydrogen vehicle switch. So what I'm going to say is, all right, great. Anything that is diesel today gets turned into the hydrogen version of it. Any depot, wherever, whenever. Same thing, excavators. We did some of this last time already, but let's just do it all the way across the board on the entire network here. So we're going to go to full hydrogen trucks even, all the way through. This will be at different depots, but none of these are mega vehicles, so hopefully this should be fine. Amphibious trucks actually can't use a bridge, right? But they can just go across the water themselves. So they should be able to go wherever they need to get upgraded. I bet there's at least a little bit of inefficiency in them going to further away ones, but the ability to do all three at once feels more important. So let's do that, chip away at that, and keep an eye on this consumption rate. But so far so good. I think we're doing all right on that front. We need to really push a lot of this dirt out here. Yeah. From here specifically, this is good. I have the junkyard on priority 2 for export. All of our active mines where things break, if not, I have on priority 1. So this means that we're actually making our way down into the lower priority, but still quite high priority section of dirt removal. And this will hopefully mean that we can continue processing our sludge and biomass a little bit more aggressively. We have the throughput, we just have nowhere to put the damn dirt at the end of the line here. So that's another one I'm going to be keeping an eye on all episode for sure. We've just got dirt freaking everywhere right now. Oh yeah, and so I mentioned that coal was also sketchy out here on Silicon Ridge, so as you can maybe appreciate, we are low on both sand actually and coal production out here. Part of what was going on with coal was our long-range miners, which to be fair, they are that already. We're going all the way out and around because I never put a crossing here, but I did sneak this in between episodes, and boy, did that ever cut their trip in half, something like that. So that helps, but I think we kind of just need more throughput over here. As you can see, it's like actually causing enough of an issue that we are trickling our copper deficit all the way into, oh my god, almost an Electronics 1 deficit. So we need to fix that. But we have plenty of copper, and in fact, it's part of what's jamming things up here. And we're sending in copper from over here from a mine I kind of want to prioritize. So the solution is going to be, let's just knock all of these miners off this mine and put them out here instead. So we'll go here, and then we'll add those 4 in a second, but I just want to quickly clear them so that our auto assign actually like picks them. So if you go over here and say, all right, just give me 4 more, it'll pick 4 random ones that don't have something in them that would be a conflict. So I want to make sure we actually get those 4 specifically, and I think we did. Let's see. Otherwise you end up like assigning an empty haul truck from 2 islands away, and I don't know. I'm sure I could fix it with logistics zones, but I've gotten there. Anyway, I think this should get our coal production up and running over here, but I'm keeping an eye on that, and as I said, sand. We might even push the mine into this sand zone, at least temporarily, rather than having to crush it all. I'm thinking about building a bridge out to the next island already, and this is at level 20, and so is this. So we could do a bridge straight shot out like that, which would be kind of cool. But I do think we would end up probably having to tidy up here a little bit. At any rate, not going to worry about it just yet, but something that's on my mind. I'm always scheming about how we're going to get to the next island and build the next bridge. All right, so hopefully that helps with coal. As I said, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on it, but let's call that our first attempt at sorting it out. Checking in on our various constructions over here. Let's use some Unity to help out a little bit. I've got a ton of it these days. I think, yeah, you know what? With tracks, I don't know. It's so painful otherwise. Let's just go ahead and help out. Can clean that up for them even. And sure, have the bucket. This does mean, as I mentioned, we'll want to get rid of this set of tracks as well. So we can even clear that out. And as soon as these fellas are done with their merger, as you can see, this is a contributor to traffic here, then we'll clear out these lines too. And there we go. That should do it. Had to remember the last couple little connectors there, but this should hopefully help with traffic flow, as will for sure not having to have iron ore come through here so much. Looking forward to that. Another thing I've left myself a helpful visual reminder of, it was thinking we should probably, this is a better connection rather than having to come across here for our concrete water. So I'm gonna connect this here basically to the exact same setup, but is a pipe 2 sufficient? Yeah, totally. So with this built, then we can actually delete not just this long awkward pipe segment, but the 2 ramps that only exist because of it. So that'll be helpful as well, or at least aesthetic. Don't know if it'll make a meaningful impact other than just visually for me. But let's of course make sure that we fill in with a bit of road behind that so it looks good. Important stuff, always. Cool. Left myself a few of those visual reminders, as you will probably appreciate here and there over the course of the episode. I will explain them as we use them, for sure. This, which you probably already saw, is my thinking for the fertilizer plant. So, we're hanging in there. Like, this is fine. we have more fertilizer now than we've had for quite some time, but it's not full, and places like this are still hurting on fertility. Now, ultimately, they're still making more corn and potatoes than we can use, and it's supplying all of the animal feed we need. But I do think we should probably expand our fertilizer production. That's what this line is about, in fact. And part of what we could do, of course, we'll need to add more machines for more throughput in general, and I'm probably going to rearrange some things here as a result. But part of what we could do is actually make sure that, well, we have so much dirt and compost lying around on rail already. Why don't we import that so that we always have organic fertilizer to stretch our supply to go a little bit further? So part of what I want to do with this space in here that we've taken back is just add another row of stations and set up organic fertilizer production on this side, essentially. So here's our dirt, here's our compost coming in, and we can just pump the water locally, because remember, this is all on a reservoir, on this side to make our organic fertilizer, and then in a single pipe, just run it back across, plug it in over here. That also frees up all of this space, which might be helpful because we're probably going to have to expand, you know, these modules somewhat, at least. But we start, I think, just with setting up the organic fertilizer production on this side. So we'll need to slot in, of course, a train station here, and then the proper buildings. I also figure let's bring hydrogen in by rail. We did talk about this a long time ago. We use hydrogen here because it's a great way to both get our steam going, but also fund our synthetic ammonia backfill. We've been doing this with enough volume that, okay, we need to bring it in by rail because our trucks, even if they aren't busy, it's a lot to ask them to be constantly bringing it in. So I do think we'll set this up and run a pipe across as well. So let me do a tiny bit of work in this area to get this all hopefully in motion shortly. All right, that'll do for now, at least to get us started. We'll figure out the actual connections for these pipes as we rearrange things over here, but there's no reason not to get this construction going and to get some dirt and compost in here. Same with the hydrogen. We'll use a little bit of a storage buffer here, but otherwise this is just copy paste what we do over there. And the nice thing, actually, is that 24 and 24 is 48, right? So for each one of these duos, you just have a direct groundwater pump connection. So we'll let our trucks get to this or get impatient and Unity build it, but we'll let them try first. And speaking of getting impatient and Unity building, so that'll be our mining setup here. We'll slot in sand in a moment, but I just want to get started on the coal given our current situation over on St. Charles. I'm also eventually planning on doing a nice, flat, clean set of mines, but right now I'm just going to take the top most pure set here, partly because I want the coal most efficiently, partly because we have enough dirt and rock already to be disposing of on the network. So let's get that in motion. The issue will be Yeah, what are these guys doing? Oh, cool. They're going to come over here and auto-assign themselves some iron. Well, I want you to go over there, but I really don't care for you to be putting stuff into that sorter. That's not the plan, my friends. All right, cool. So they're cleaned out and assigned. I said earlier it picks a random one. That's not true. The way that I understand it is that it picks the closest unoccupied one. So that's why I have to clear out the conflicting materials that were in the trucks beforehand to get them selected. Closest unoccupied, not random. Over here, though, just need this to go ahead and wrap up. It's taken forever to get our trains out here to get this all processed. Do we have an issue moving things over here? Probably. Yeah, it's a slag is full issue. Hopefully someone's taking care of that soon. Yeah, I'm wondering if we need to add more trains to that network. I'm not seeing any idle, loose type trains, so I'm going to say yes, we do. So at least one, probably more, but that should hopefully help them chip away. Other thing we could do, little silly, but we could just clear that out real quick to get this in motion again. Unfortunately, because I didn't go through and micro pausing it, that's going to blast it out a few places we don't want it to, but our trucks will clean it up. Just want to get this transition complete. So how are things over here? Yeah, I'm feeling impatient and would like to construct this with Unity. Still traffic here. Your issue is he's in the way, he's trying to get out there, and he's just now gotten in. All right, I think that resolves itself, but geez, yeah, that's a mess. We will do something more comprehensive on train traffic in the future, I'm sure. All right, let's get all of this built, at least to the storages, and that should trigger some trains bringing stuff in, hopefully. They'll see this as an acceptable location to take the dirt that they are trying to push out, hopefully from over here. So I'm really ideally going to see an impact from this station in particular, from this move. Let's find out. There's a, by the way, maybe worth chatting about. Like, we have the dirt and the compost out here too. Like, we could just make it on site, right? There's an argument for it. It's even not a change in volume, right? It's not compressive or expansive. It's 96 sum total and 96. But ultimately we just don't have the water here. So even though it's transporting two things, in sum total, the volume of those two things is less because we have the water locally here, or we'd have to bring in water there and then ship it all out here. So I do think it makes sense, even though it's two separate products, to bring them out here for the assembly. But it is a question worth asking, and one I asked myself in my head, but it's only fair that I externalize that thought process here as well. So hopefully this gets going soon. Let's see if this triggers any trains. Fingers crossed. Something else actually to do now that this is on the turbine train network is to remove the construction parts factory supply network, which, by the way, is just longer trains, longer manufacturing network trains. We may want to consider combining and putting these smaller fellas onto this sort of size. Sort of one of the things that's in my head that could help with traffic too, but not to be distracted. The turbine train network should handle the import of wood here. So let's go ahead and remove the, where is this, St. Charles Wood Import Station here from that network, and also remove it from the wood export side over here. I want to make sure that this is a turbine train network station only now. And that also means, for whatever it's worth, we don't need this steam setup out here anymore. So not that this is a huge drain on our water, but like every little bit helps at this tiny overtaxed reservoir. So let's go ahead and clean all of this up. And hey, it's less air pollution since I guess technically we were just sending that into the air. So can't hurt. Let's get this cleaned up on Unity just before we forget. Get that reconnected, and there we go. The rest can happen the leisure of our truck network. Pretty great to see all this steel coming in from the factory already. While we're out here though, one of the things I was also thinking about is we could probably consolidate these ore sorters in here. We can have our limestone go to this one and, you know, just connect more directly anyway to the export station. And while we're at it, I suppose we might even consider putting cement onto this train station as well. So let's, at minimum, change this export to be to here rather than here. I think we can even straight up delete this, this, and this. We'll come back to this, maybe put it on the network, maybe not. If not, we should at least keep that full, obviously. This doesn't run super frequently. I could probably do more paving. I will probably do more paving, and then it will run more, but for now I think it's okay. What we need to do here is just make sure that this accepts limestone and then outputs it on this belt. Come on under here and connect. So that'll save us, I mean, mostly just simplicity. I'm not super stressed about what, 6 workers and a tiny bit of maintenance or whatever it is for an ore sorter. But I think this will be a helpful consolidated place to be dumping all this stuff. And I have it set up, by the way, so that anytime our rock backs up and our train network can't handle it, which is not infrequently, a haul truck usually, typically, hopefully, can come over and grab it and just run it down here. Just thinking about running a belt. May yet do it, but we're so close to the end here that it would be a little silly temporary-wise. Still though, let's get a little bit closer, I guess, right? Yeah, it's definitely silly, but that's okay. We'll take it. I don't know that we're gonna dump rock out this way longer run after we're done with this, so I don't know. I doubt we use this in the longer term. I think we will probably end up still using the rock export there, but if we don't, well, we can clean up that station too. So one of the other things I did was kind of go around and look at what crops and intermediates are doing well and aren't. So that was partly where we started out with the fertilizer production. I was looking at what else do we need processing capacity on, and the answer for processing intermediates is actually not much. We're doing pretty well. The issue is the raw supply of some stuff. The one spot where we do have a little bit of, well, we have excess supply, plenty of demand, but not enough throughput capacity is here for sugarcane into sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and build the rest of that module, and hopefully that's sufficient. Let's see. The other things that we need to do though on the raw supply side, canola is definitely an issue, right? We don't have enough cooking oil friggin' anywhere. It's just absolutely getting crushed the moment it gets generated. So we need to add more of that. I do think we probably need a little bit more wheat. Not a ton. We're full up here on flour, as you can see, right? But we don't back up on wheat itself. So I don't want to drown this out, but if there's an opportunity to add just a little bit more wheat, that might be worth doing. And then the last one is we're actually a little bit low after all the silliness of going back and forth. We have, I think, enough eggs and enough meat, but not a ton in the way of sausage. And the way that you get sausage is, well, it's either leftover byproduct from meat or directly, if you have enough meat, excess, the carcasses run into meat trimmings directly. That's the core of the fundamental input resource here is this meat trimmings thing. So I think we go up to 4 chickens. Let's see. I'll have to steal one from over here, but that should take care of itself as far as replicating. And we have plenty, right? We have plenty of animal feed, famous last words. We have plenty of animal feed and plenty of water out this way. These reservoirs are all the way back in great shape. So I think we need to do that. So then the other 2 crops that I mentioned, right? Canola, which, hey, here we have some, and wheat, hey, here we have some. I think we're going to go ahead and build this 5th farm. It's not, there's a part of me that really wishes we would wait until I could get perfect symmetry here. That's insane. So we're going to not wait and just go ahead and get this built. So we should have even, I think, enough fertilizer to keep everyone happy out here. We just need to connect the output belts. What's the best way to do that? Well, it's all loose good, and I think it's all coming around this way. So let's just do this. And is it this tile or one more over? No, it's this tile. Cool. So let's just come straight through here and meet up. We should have the exact same sorting mechanisms still be valid. It's the nice thing, once you've built the infrastructure, it's very easy to scale the parts. So this will create, hopefully, some more wheat, but let's say wheat and canola. In equal parts, that might be excessive. We'll find out. If we need to dilute that with some more soybeans, it's not that we need soybeans, but there's probably more room for some. It comes in these big bursts and then gets turned into tofu. And we have the overflow for animal feed production, at least for soybeans and wheat. The one thing we can't do, though, is process excess canola. We have to turn it into cooking oil. Plenty of room for that, though, so we will have, I think, a long lead time to adjust if we are, in fact, overproducing it. Cool. So that all seems good enough for now. Let's come back to, maybe we should check some things off, actually. I think this is fair to cross off all the way up to here, at least. We've retired the mine, even though we're still slowly, but surely, it's there, surely, pulling the last bits of ore and landfill out of there. Once we have drained this, for example, we'll definitely pause it. That's just a good chunk of workers. Not the end of the world, but might as well grab them back. We had like 1,000 extra workers not that long ago, right? We just hoovered them up. The steel plant is a huge consumer of them, right? Each blast furnace, and we have 16 of them, is 18. So, ooh, yeah, check that out. Slag. That's right. It's being removed, so I think we're okay. Maybe we do want to add another one of these guys. That's probably worth doing. I got distracted. Yeah, so we'll wait until this is done and then unpause it. But otherwise, I think we're going to consider that sorted. We'll leave the sand part unchecked for now. I don't know that we're going to worry about it too much. We have done this. We are in motion here, at least. We've done this, although I do think we should probably also add some more modules. But this is done, maybe with an eye towards monitoring it. We should still keep an eye on it. But this is coming along slowly. I thought I saw... All right, so we have dirt coming in, at least. So hopefully this gets moving soon. Once it is, then I think we'll come in and do the rest of this. I don't want to clean this up until we're like in motion here. But I want to use this space and probably, frankly, just kill this road or reroute it or something. But I want to use this space for expanding each of these modules, really. I don't know, by the way, that we need to expand our sour water stripping capacity. I think it's everything else. We, like, we need to expand this contract, period, first. Which is maybe a decent segue into one of the other odds and ends. So we want to do this harbor revamp in this area. That's going to require us to, at minimum, relocate some stuff in the short term. So I would like to get these somewhere still usable, but also they need to not be here so that we can do a remodeling, including some terraforming of this waterfront area. So some things we can definitely do. We don't need the beacon, haven't needed it in a long time. This was cute, no longer necessary. This generator does fire, actually, of all things, because we are occasionally dealing with some power blips here. I don't hate having one around, but I also don't care to have it here. Maybe we will put one here? I don't know. We're going to end up revamping this refinery, if it wasn't obvious already, in the pretty near term. So obviously the power plant we are hoping to retire. There's a reason I haven't yet, but we're hoping to retire it. And if we're going all the way hydrogen on our vehicles, how's that going, by the way? Yep, chugging along. Once we get there, we're going to be using a lot less diesel. Not zero. We will always, unfortunately, have to run the ship on diesel. And we probably need some local rubber production, which could come off of naphtha, could come off of diesel, whatever. We have, of course, the ability to do some of that out here too, and if we wanted to, we could just export our rubber from here, throw the balance of this refinery off a little bit, but we could adjust. At any rate, not certain exactly what we're going to do here, but I think it's going to be very much stripped back and could disappear entirely, frankly. If we just need a little bit of diesel in the longer run, we could just export it from Silicon Ridge. So let's see. I haven't decided exactly what we're going to do out here yet, but this is not how it's going to look in, call it, 4 episodes from now. So I said I wanted to relocate some stuff. Let's start with the trading dock, I guess, which we will of course still need, but I guess can just slot out there for now. This is our excess sulfur for coal contract, which, by the way, we do use. If you check our export toggle here on this graph, you can see it does every once in a while. We do spike a good amount of it to drop off. So we are still making more sulfur than we actually have a perfect use for. One of the things I'm keeping an eye on over here, actually, is whether or not we're able to get all of that sulfur out here productively. I think the kick in acid production that goes along with more copper coming off the line, finally. That's good news on our coal, isn't it? That is increasing our sulfur consumption, so I think that's working okay. At any rate, we'll definitely want to keep an eye on how that works. Oh no. Well, this actually is an issue. We can't have our amphibious vehicles up here because there's no way to get off the island. All right, well, I hate to do the trick, but this one actually is going to be warped off the island and sent to, I don't know, literally anywhere else. So if you ever wanted to see what that trick does look like, it's that. All right, my God, I'm so distracted. We were revamping the harbor, that's right. So we need to get this contract somewhere else. Could just be temporary, but we do still use it. Yeah, I think we have to keep it around. So what we'll do is just, I think we could even just use this, this size. I think that's sufficient for now. Just put it over here. It's a truck thing, right? We drop off and pick up the sulfur and coal, respectively, via truck. And that throughput is more than sufficient. So I think we can just tuck this in the corner. It doesn't need to be rail accessible. I think this works. I just want to make sure that we can navigate a large truck back there. Can you reach? You can. Good. Very good. All right, so let's get this built. And then once it is up and running, we'll delete this one. make sure that the SCS Ryan Solomon retains its name on the way over there. And the other thing we're going to have to do, by the way, is relocate the shipyard. In order to do that, I think we're probably going to have to delete a whole bunch of stuff that's in here, so let's come back to that idea. But the other thing that we probably are going to have to still have is a diesel fuel station. So we'll just slot it in here. Let's do that. We can delete this as a result. And then, yeah. I mean, look, 5 megawatts isn't make or break at this point, so who am I fooling? Honestly, we haven't needed to refuel here in a moment, and we can do that by truck on the very rare occasion that we might still want to refuel before we move this. So all good, and then the shipyard itself will need placed somewhere else. Alright, well, after a little bit of prospecting and hemming and hawing, I actually think this is really the only spot we can place the shipyard for now, so I've moved the sulfur coal dock over here. So we'll build both of these. The shipyard just has such, like, stringent requirements. It's got to be a wide and flat area, and it has to be a certain height, so like beaches don't work. And over here, this may have worked like at one point, but I started this weird little dumping project here to try to create more space, and then we stopped dumping. So anyway, doesn't matter. That'll work for now. Once it's built, we will move the ship over to it and try to get all of this pushed out. It's a good amount of stuff in here. Some of it I'm willing to throw away, some of it I'm not. So we'll try to find good spots for all of this. The solar cells is really going to be the biggest issue. The thing we could do, though, is actually like use them to build more solar panels, even if only temporarily. We certainly could use a bit of power help, right? So I think I actually am going to do that. Now, where to build them? Somewhere that's kind of out of the way, presumably, would be ideal. So, well, could even be out here. I think what we'll do is make a little array, call it over here. This feels out of the way enough. So let me build something like, I don't know, this, at least to start. And let's see what that does to our supply. It looks like we could do another third beyond that. So if that's 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4, so 16, we could probably get another 5 in here. 4 fits nicely. All right, so we'll go with that for now. And if nothing else, that should empty out our shipyard, but in a way that is also helpful for power, hopefully. So that just leaves us with needing to relocate the captain's office, which, like the trading dock, you have to delete before you can rebuild. You can't copy and paste to move it somewhere else. By the way, we should probably remember to rebuild the trading dock. It is hopefully a little bit more forgiving. How about that? No, it's on the wrong side of those tracks. How about that? Nope. There's our trading dock. So we need to unfortunately delete this and rebuild it, and we'll do it quickly. Not that we are in, any sort of particularly rough spot on any of our edicts, but would rather not go long without them if possible. Yeah, that seems like a good spot for it. And great, it even remembers our previous edicts. Cool. So we'll let all of this get built and then be able to clean all of this up. I think we can remove this in the meanwhile as well. And the SCS Ryan Solomon is on its way, I guess, out to the world map to reset itself, and then it'll come back into the new contract. And we'll want to make sure once it's back to flip that over to hydrogen, but this means that we can officially clean all of this up. Coming along slowly but surely. And out here we even have our solar panels. So 120 left, Probably do 5 more, I guess. So I'll slot those down here. Might even Unity build them. Yep. And I'm going to finish this farm and there's various connections as well. Well, now that we have enough fertilizer to get out here to this set of farms even, we are super full. We have more than we need on the animal feed front, despite the larger number of chickens, perhaps. So let's see if that's a persistent issue. If it is, we will, I don't know, we could either build an overflow or we could just pause one of these farms, right? So we'll see if this stays super full, but I won't be shocked if it does. It's definitely been productive despite 0 fertility for quite some time. And a little while later, our sulfur export contract ship is in place and our new shipyard is built. Gonna make this one primary and keep it full on diesel. And that should, in fact it already is, relocate the ship. And that will allow us to delete this. Of course, I kind of want to make sure that what's in here is either something we're okay deleting, that's fine, so is that, or that we are able to quickly find another spot for it. So these imported goods, right, I guess got deleted when we were cleaning up a luxury goods building, must be. I don't think I care about med supplies, that's a lot, but it's just not quite worth the trouble. And then 18, that's fine. This is also fine. The 6K dirt, not so much. So what the heck are we gonna do with that? Well, 6K is just one big storage, so what I might do is temporarily just throw a big storage over there and then have them run that over. So I suppose that'll have to do. So let's just throw that down temporarily and get all this stuff out of here, and then we'll delete it and we'll be able to start some terraforming. So what are we gonna do here? So for certain, we're gonna extend this lip out. Like, it's a little awkward already that it's not so deep, but especially with the way that we have the bridge coming down here, we need more depth here for our trains not to be sort of awkward in general, and that's gonna be true to the left here just as much as it is true to the right today already. So a little bit more depth will be good, plus it'll keep this all aligned. So at minimum, we'll do that all the way across. I was thinking about, like, would it be, I don't know, cool, helpful to dig in actually and have docks oriented like maybe like this, going in to the island a little bit? Seems cool. It also seems like a lot of clearance, unfortunately. So if you're going to do this on one side and then ideally also on the other, then we've basically just hollowed this whole thing out. What we could do though would be to maybe extend out onto some piers. So in addition to coming out this far, we could extend out into the waterway a little bit more. We have plenty of space for ships to go by. It's not like it would really make anything more difficult for anyone, but we could have sort of a docklands area here where we have ships and maybe they unload directly into a train station that comes out like something, I don't know, let's see. But no matter what, it'll start with just filling in along here. I don't want to do that just yet because I don't want to give our trucks an excuse to dump anywhere other than here. And we're just about done. In fact, our stacker's reach is, depending on what the angle of his arm is actually past, which is fine. I've got our trucks trying to fill in the difference here anyway. So hopefully this is very soon, and then we get the bridge built. We could even start constructing the bridge. I'm like 95% sure I can stick the landing on connecting here to the end. And in fact, yeah, that right there being okay makes me feel like, all right, let's go ahead and allow the beginning of this construction at least. And then we will make that last little connection as soon as we finish filling in here. Fingers crossed that's soon. Well, while we are waiting for terraforming and construction to complete, let's kick off a beautification project. which is I want to bring trees back. We aren't clear cutting everything anymore. We have our own sustainable wood, and I'd love to use trees as sort of decoration. Bring them back in, not just here, but really all across the base. I figure this is a good starting point. This feels like a snug little alpine community, so let's give them the arboreal surrounding that they deserve. And assuming it looks good, I think we'll probably just keep rotating this fella a lot of different places. I would love to see like tree-lined streets and highway paths for rails. You know, we're probably going to end up rethinking how we do this central arterial here through St. Charles, and it'd be nice if we made it not just more functional, but more beautiful. And if we want to see how that could look, we could definitely use this as a test strip. This whole area has plenty of dirt. Wouldn't have to do much resurfacing, if any. So yeah, consider that the start of a longer term beautification project. By the way, coal's looking great over here. That's nice to see. Are we getting that out here to St. Charles? Not so much yet. I think we probably have a train. Trains themselves are the bottlenecks, if I had to keep guessing. That is still true. Definitely using a lot of those guys these days. And they are kind of filling up, unfortunately, a lot of this stuff as well. A lot of at-grade crossings also interrupt here. Yeah, something holistic, I'm sure, in the coming episodes, but not taking our eye off the ball just yet here. This is empty, so we can finally delete this as well. And this will have us in a pretty good spot, I think, actually, to start the new harborfront terraforming process, this extension process. Started boosting over here to push more fuel gas through. We are actually losing cumulative hydrogen if I don't boost lately, which is good. That was kind of the point. But, you know, we do have to make sure that we don't overshoot this and then put all of our truck network onto hydrogen and then be suddenly a creek without a paddle, so to speak. But we have quite a bit of a buffer and time to adjust, hopefully, if that does end up being the case. And I'm still not 100% convinced that it is. We are starting out here, hopefully, somewhere. We've laid a little bit of ground, so that's a start. But this will take a minute as well. We may not end up getting everything totally constructed out here today. After all, looking at the runtime, it's taken a minute. But hopefully, this is just a matter of time. And there's our little fleet. They're doing their best. They'll get there as quickly as they can. By the way, checking in over here from much earlier in the episode now, just not getting much in the way of compost in. So we make compost two places. One over here, when we process the sludge that we bring in primarily for fuel gas, we do make a bit of compost. That is truck exported at this point. A little awkward, something we'll probably want to revamp as we expand and redo the harbor anyway. But right now it's coming up to essentially the old school version of this. The other place we make compost though, well, it's at all of our different overflows. So for example, over here, we have a little bit and tiny bits of it do pile up here. And that's why we set up the junkyard to receive compost. Not that we expected a ton by volume, but might as well. Of course, we also make a ton of compost over here at the junkyard, right? That's what we turn our biomass into. It's what we turn our sludge from our own wastewater treatment plants into. And we have that with this compost all meet up here to be turned into dirt. What we could do instead is say, well, we don't make enough compost that we really have to worry about absorbing some here in addition to over there. What if instead we sent compost out of here whenever we have it, and whenever we don't, we overflow turned into dirt? That would help us reduce this insane dirt generation, as well as provide compost for more consistent organic fertilizer. So it's as simple as deleting this, this, and this, replacing it with a balancer, flipping this around, turning this into load, and that should do it. We would essentially supply it here rather than demanding that we push it out, right? So if there is compost anywhere else, it will get pushed out. Here we're going to pull compost in, but as necessary, we can supply it from here now. So bit of an inversion, but not a crazy one. I think it makes some sense. Let me toss this little balancer in here. We'll say priority out here for supply, but any excess does come along here and we turn it to dirt. So hopefully that'll actually chew through some of this backlog, because if you come out to our settlements, last I looked, yeah, this is rough. I mean, we are like barely keeping it out. And I do think that, yeah, when we are full on biomass, all we're doing is just generating more trash, right? Biomass sort of pulls a fraction of the waste out, so we're making more trash now as a result, which is too bad. Just a better way to do that. But it's not the end of the world. Sludge is a problem. Sludge backs up the entire wastewater treatment situation. So hopefully this is a good way to address both of those, though. Let's see. The other thing I'm looking at about traffic on this main highway is how many crossings we have. They interrupt traffic a little bit, and we've moved more and more towards what is convenient for trains rather than for trucks. Obviously, we need to be able to cross, like, at all, but we probably don't need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all in this stretch. So I'm thinking I'm going to delete this one so that our trains are not interrupted for this turning motion. I think we have to keep that one, at least for now, so you can get back there. But I think we delete this one, keep this one. I think we keep this one, delete this one, something like that. This is not an incredibly critical motion as far as I can tell. So I'll do that real quick here. All right, well, let's see if that helps at least a little bit. I'm looking for marginal improvements that'll allow us to kick the can further down the road. So let's cross our fingers, see how it goes. This seems to be helpful already. I know these are not giving me the I'm full alerts that they previously had been. And that's still full, but this is less full for sure. Good to see there. Well, you knew that would break something, right? And that is because our maintenance facility is still supplied manually by truck, and we just cut off, I think, the path for trucks to get in here, which is the only truck accessible steel supply so far. But that's not actually a problem. All we really need to do is extend what we've done over here also to steel. So we will simply say, all right, this here is our truck accessible steel. And I've also, just to be safe, although it's definitely not how I want to do this in the longer run, I cranked up the priority on the train delivery here and actually added our double length construction parts factory network to supply this too. I really want to get this all supplied by rail, set of train stations over here. Don't know if I wrote it down this time. I think I wrote it down last time, but we didn't get to it. It's kind of interesting. The goods that we need to supply by train are actually these exact goods. It's electronics 1, 2, and 3, and then you need wood, steel, and glass for the different research parts. And would you look at that? So it's kind of going to be as simple as copy paste, you know, setting up something like this here. and incorporating an adjusted recyclables output and then rewiring. So it's doable. I just don't quite want to prioritize it right this moment. I've been sort of nose down adjusting our no stop zones to try to keep traffic moving. It's been helpful. I need to do it over here still. Again, just trying to do some marginal adjustments to buy us time for a proper rework, but maintenance becomes a crisis. So I'll handle that. And these chickens have food on the way. Yeah, there we go. It's coming. So they'll be fine too. All right, well, I'm gonna disappear until I've handled this and be right back. I've also decided to at least pause after we complete these hydrogen upgrades and save the various little trucks part until we're convinced that we haven't overshot on the hydrogen side of things. We have definitely gone and peaked our, total supply here. We are consuming enough, certainly, with all of those upgrades, but I want to pause and then sort of see what new baseline looks like before we commit to doing a whole bunch more. So that's the latest and greatest there. I don't want to have to, be boosting this indefinitely. Let's see how it goes. You know what else I'm going to do for the sake of traffic? This left-hand turn here is super dumb, and a lot of it is the iron ore that is, by the way, finally just about sorted. I think we're, done out there. So we won't have any more to drop off here. We'll have to wait till this gets processed to, fully clear it out. But that's going to help. We don't actually need this actually at all, right? We could just say, hey, go out and around. It's slightly less efficient for you, the individual train, but it's probably much more efficient for everyone else on this line. So, of course, we still need these stations, but we're just going to have them all come from this angle. It's as simple as delete these, and I suppose these go, and so do these, and then whatever part of the backbone here is still present technically can also probably go. So something like that, I'm sure, underneath all of the deconstruction stuff. So let's clear that and see how it goes. Hopefully that just, if nothing else, keeps people from backing up over here. Yeah, so I can cut here and here. Yeah, I think that works. That works for now. This will also have the positive side effect of allowing us to actually access this steel again via truck. So hopefully that smooths out a couple different things. And that's it on the stacker tower. So we've just got to touch up the surface here with last little bits of rock to fill in sort of the pockmarked surface you get with these stacker towers. Not too big a deal though. So let's delete this, at least up to here. I don't know. Maybe what we do is say keep empty and just ask trucks to dump it in the nearest spot, which is hopefully right there. The bridge itself is making some progress. It's gonna take a while, but we have more than you might think already dropped off. It's these big middle sections where we haven't even touched anything yet that is difficult, but the rest of this has, in most cases, at least something. We, of course, have to deliver it all, but we need what? Hang on. Got to do the toggle there. We have the steel. We don't quite have the concrete, but we will certainly have it by the time we're actually able to deliver it all. So, good. Progress. More soon. All right, so we are officially done pulling in iron ore here. And that means a few things once this last little bit drains through the belts here. So I guess I'll unpause just to let that continue while we are talking through it. So how do we want to revamp this? The point is to make this recycling only. And from that perspective, we only really need three things: the recyclables, the coal, and the ability to scrub the exhaust. Plus, I suppose, the actual export of the steel itself, right? But as far as materials in and out go, total, that's pretty much it. Now, of course, we have the scrubber here, and we have a handful of various different stations that are currently collectively doing those things. We could just kind of rewire it and call it a day. But this is also a moment to maybe more fundamentally clean this area up, and it is a bit of a mess. We have, I would say, outgrown the way that it's currently structured. So if we were going to do everything by rail, everything here by rail, it would look something like this. As I mentioned, we would need to bring in, of course, the scrap. We would also need to bring in coal. We would need to send out steel. But then things get sort of messier or more complicated for the exhaust scrubbing. So for the exhaust scrubber, we have a water hookup, that's no problem. But we need to bring in limestone. We need to send out sulfur. We would actually still need to send out slag, even though the recycled recipe doesn't generate it in the blast furnaces anymore. The exhaust scrubber itself does. We would need to, well, we would have two options on the CO2. We could, as we do today, put it into a chem plant too and generate some graphite. Pretty decent amount of graphite, actually, that we make here. We could put that on the rails. We have a use for at least some of it. We still overflow the CO2. We could just dump the CO2 entirely as well, but if we don't, that's another export that we have to do. So the exhaust scrubber adds basically 4 stations to what would otherwise be a 3-station setup. We're also, spoiler alert, going to move the rail parts out of here and over to the construction parts factory, where we already have the concrete and steel. And it's kind of a construction part in a sense. So that's going to be one thing simplified over here already. There's another alternative though. We have another exhaust scrubber over here, one that has some pretty decent open capacity here. And we do generate a little bit less exhaust with the iron scrap recycled recipe. We could just run a pipe and pump it all over here and try to save on, well, consolidating to one set of scrubbers, but also this is serviced entirely by truck today, or we could set up a shuttle station over here to service it separate from the steel station. So I think that's roughly what I want to do. I think we're going to take essentially these pieces here that are associated with the exhaust scrubbing and say, well, not right now. Not as part of the steel plant. I normally do make these pretty integral to a steel plant because they do roughly require one, but this one is just so underutilized that it's basically, it might as well be the steel factory one. It's currently just bringing in the 2 recycled copper blast furnaces and the occasional plastic, right, that runs through here. And instead of doing the theoretical math, we can look at the empirical math, and pretty flat constant, about 14% every year of the total capacity or throughput. And if you'd like, you can double check my math that I did a little fancy little calc over here in the corner here, but the way I see it, it's currently at 14% of its 480 capacity, but the 6x, we have 6 blast furnaces times the 27 for the blast furnace itself and the 36, which is unchanged by recipe in the oxygen furnace. I think we actually can fit it all in here. And worst case, if we can't, we just make a second one and revamp it and do the whole thing by rail anyway, but we've still cleaned up all this area. So that's going to be the move. It's going to allow us to do a lot of stuff. It's going to allow us to delete all of this. We no longer need any crushers, right? If we move the exhaust scrubbing out, obviously also we can remove the exhaust scrubbers, but we can stop bringing in limestone, right? And all of this nonsense, I think we can also clear out. So I'm going to start by deleting everything I don't want to keep, essentially. And then I do think we'll end up moving. Like, I don't think this is the best place, once all this space has been freed up, I don't think this is the best space for these necessarily. I think we'll put together a trio of stations that looks like this. I'll figure out exactly where, but I have a feeling it's going to feed back into this same return loop. So I'm gonna start by making some space, so let's dive in. It's a satisfying start, but it's going to take a minute to give us the actual space that we have taken back here. So come back to you when it's time to pick a spot for the station, basically. All right, well, a little while later, we've got everything cleaned up. I think this is where we're going to slot the stations, and I even think we might be able to reuse at least a couple of these shredders, which is nice. Decided not to go with the sort of the back entrance here. I think we're going to make this bidirectional again and just kill this entire out and around track. It's no longer necessary. So let me get all of these station connections built, and let's get our construction network on the stations and tracks themselves. All right, so that's the play. The manufacturing network will be responsible for bringing in the scrap iron from basically just here, down and around like that. Nice little loop. And it's piling up, actually, since we haven't had this up and running for a second. Need to get that in motion. We'll also have to, of course, take the steel out, push the steel out, in fact, as priority over our imported supply. And then, yeah, coal will come in as well from presumably over here, which makes me realize we'll probably want an entrance from this angle as well. So what do? Come 2 down here, and then bam, connect. Brilliant. So that's good, and it does mean that we can really delete all of this, right? So I'm gonna let these, will I let this drain? I think we'll let this drain. The coal will probably try to actively relocate, but the rest of this can all go. I think over here we probably, yeah, cut it off at this spot and make this a bidirectional track so that we are still able to get the shuttle out here for local coal. And that will mean that from, I guess, call it this location, we do still need to come back in the other direction. So I guess it's here. And then this segment is actually not bidirectional. There we go. So this is back to being, well, it's always been a bit of a mess, but it'll work for now. And all of this entire section, actually, right? All of this goes once we are done with that coal mine. So it's not for forever. At any rate, this is helpful, I think, and we retain, I think, the future to do, but not pressing, to get this exhaust scrubber also onto rail. Should be okay in the meanwhile. The one other thing I want to do while we're in this area, when we removed this T-bend, what we also did was actually kind of kill the ability for our manufacturing network fireless steam trains to actually enter the waiting bays, because they have to come in from this side of this internal loop. So we actually don't have a way for them to enter and get onto here, which is a little awkward. So we could do some sort of out and around, or what we could do is simply connect up from our refueling area anyway. So I think what we might do is we could move all this and extend, or we could just, yeah, take a track from, call it here, I suppose, and extend out in this direction just to merge back up with this line. Maybe like something like this. Do want to make sure that we still have the ability to cross though. So let me think. Maybe what we do is go and we have a return loop. So hopefully that gets rid of this error, which I keep getting on occasion, but hopefully that's it. There we go. He is resolved. Wonderful. So we'll let our trucks take care of the cleanup side of things over here. The other thing we need to do, right, is make sure that we have our rail parts also being constructed out here. As I said, we're going to treat it as a construction good now. So we'll need to get essentially this slotted in, I guess, here. No reason not to just do that, right? So we'll go here. But this one, rather than going all the way out and around, that feels a little bit much, although it's better aesthetically. But we can't quite do the height to get up over this and stay on that single tile. Yeah, okay. No worries, so we'll do it like this. Well, maybe it's silly, but I felt compelled to maintain the spacing and pattern, but I think that's how we'll do it here. So let's start to build all of this, but we should probably Unity build these stations at least so that this track remains functional in the meanwhile. The other thing I want to do, just sort of thinking about a way for our turbine train network, particularly coming from over here with, call it, lots of landfill and or slag, to avoid, particularly this warehouse area is getting kind of tight. I've actually stopped pushing the copper ore out of here so that we don't have more little trains zipping over and clogging it up too much. They're still using it every once in a while, but we're going to push from out here and make this available instead. But I think we kind of could use a bypass like this. I honestly don't know if the train logic will attempt to use it or not, but it is clear and it would avoid a lot of this traffic. So even if it just like diverts some, I think that will take a good amount of pressure off of this zone where we do end up getting some backups every once in a while. It's funny, when it works, it's fine, but when one thing goes wrong, oh my God, it cascades very fast. So I'm gonna connect this track up here and then I guess adjust this crossing, right? And then it should be as simple as that, but let's find out. I think this will be helpful. It's this corner right here. It's a little tough because of the fact that it's technically like a little elevated bridge, which I actually really like aesthetically, but it is a little bit awkward and bespoke in its curve. It's not uniform, just to find the area where it'll actually like sit without collapsing. So I think these are far enough apart that they won't bump into each other traffic-wise. We'll adjust if we need to, but I think that should be okay. So it's really not that much track to hopefully make a pretty decent difference here. Let's find out. All right, how is this all coming? Still plenty left to do here. So we only need 4 of these. I'm gonna leave the 5th for now, I guess, just to keep some processing going here. but the 72, right, that we have here for these 4 is 288. And if you divide that by 6 machines, that means it's providing 48 to each. And would you look at that? That's beautiful. So the plan will eventually be to trim this one out as well. So it just comes out and then back around, and we'll clean up all of this once it's done. But these need to get built first. So I'll come back to you in a moment when we have a bit of a build update. We're mostly just waiting for construction or Unity or time, some combination of those 3. The last build I want to sneak in today is just an expansion of our salt flats to include chlorine. 2 things. One, we're actually barely keeping up with our salt. These have been at 100% for a hot second now, and this is not full. And we have trains, not right this second, but coming pretty frequently actually to grab it. So I want to be able to make more salt. I also want to be able to make chlorine over here. We are doing just fine, actually, producing it over here at the refinery. It's not that we can't do this, and I'm not even going to delete this right away. I'm just thinking ahead that we're going to end up reworking this area, and I kind of want to reduce the number of design things we're trying to juggle at the same time. I've already had to increase our trash production, or consumption, I guess, incineration production. I've kicked the power plant back on just to accept that extra steam. I don't know. There's already enough going on over here. I'd like to simplify, and this makes obvious sense for a chlorine production. And this seawater setup, where we're just cranking out tons of it, is already very convenient. We can, in the same set of buildings, by the way, just make brine instead and have that brine go directly into electrolyzers. So I think what I'm going to do is just expand, probably just double this up, which does mean absolutely we're going to end up throughput limited on some pipe 4s, which is crazy to say, but this is, you know, what is that, 864? So like we really can't actually put more into a single pipe. It's no problem. We just do 2 parallel pipes, right? But I'm gonna double up everything and send half of it, I guess, maybe a quarter of it to chlorine. So 2 of these will be plenty in the long run. I think 48 is roughly what we consume around the base right now. We have exactly 1 of these going and we have full storage. So we need, call it 72, but ultimately 144. Well, that's gonna be a full set of 4 of these, but not quite 8. So at any rate, I'm going to probably crush this pipe, double all of this, and double this. Hop in and see you in a moment. All right, let's build all of this. So as I said, it's doubled up and I just sort of split out the pipes, the length here so that the full, call it roughly 800, that's going to each of these, is in its own pipe 4. And in these 4, let's see, I may extend this, but in these 4 so far, we're going to at least prioritize the brine production side of things. And if we need to increase the proportion that are going into brine, we will. But I think for now we're going to do this so that we still have prioritized salt on a pretty good chunk of these. So no rush. As I said, this is in preparation for our refinery transition, so we're probably not going to finish that this episode. I just wanted to get it checked off, and maybe this is a good moment to do some checking off. We did that. We've done the relocation in anticipation of the harbor revamp. We've gone as far as we're going to go on the hydrogen vehicle conversion, for whatever it's worth. Our dirt stockpile here has really gone down. That's great. Less great is I've actually had to kind of drain the hydrogen buffer. So we're definitely going to pause on our replacement. So we still have, we've done everything but our trucks, right? But we do still have 64 of those basic trucks that we could move over to hydrogen, but boy, are we ever gonna not just yet. So we'll call this good for what we wanted to do today. Fertilizer production is finally, there we go. Yeah, we finally have our organic fertilizer up and running here. So we'll probably punt this until next time, but that does mean that we can move on from this and use the space to sort of double up the throughput everywhere there. So we'll call that good for today at least. And we have officially converted our local steel to recycling only, or that will be true once this all finally gets built. Can we do some of that at least with Unity? Yeah, that'd be good. So there we go. Go ahead and delete that at least. Anyway, so that's all happening. We have completed the terraforming actually out here. Have completely finished the polishing off of the last little bits on this bridge, and we're actually pretty far along. We're not done yet, but we're like very close. 600, 1200, so we've got a couple thousand left on the steel and concrete. So let's see if we can finish that before we log off here. All right, a little while later, the bridge is complete, start to finish. Looking good too. So we are obviously not yet connected to rail. We don't have a mining setup going, so we are not pulling bauxite out of the ground just yet, but I am confident that given how close we came, we will be able to do aluminum start to finish next episode. No question. Feel very good about that. A couple of other updates. The first is we are complete over here with the transition to recycled iron for steel only at this plant. Boy, does this ever look cleaner, crisper, simpler. Very pleased with this transition being done. I think if and when, probably when, not if, we need to, we can, of course, expand modules out in this direction. I think we'd end up moving the air separators over there or something. But point being, this is in a much better place than it was previously, which is great. We've also successfully transitioned the rail parts over here to the construction parts factory. No problem there. I've even started to, by the way, start filling in here the harbor area so we can kick off that set of changes in the coming episodes as well. And we, to my surprise, managed to complete this this expansion as well. We are full up again on salt and are even stockpiling chlorine, which is great. So we'll definitely appreciate that that has been completed when we need to get into the refinery adjustment. Whenever we get to that, there's not a rush, but it becomes more and more compelling, I think, by the day to update this, especially the further we transition away from diesel vehicles. The other cool announcement, I guess, to tell you about is this bypass worked pretty well. It didn't solve everything, but if you look around on our main lines, really everywhere, there's not a ton backing up, right? We look pretty good all the way through. I will say the one spot that we do get some more traffic than we previously had is in this area, which makes all the sense in the world. We just shuttled all of that traffic into this area. That's still a massive net gain because it's not trying to filter through this jammed up warehouse zone, right? So well worth doing, but it does make this intersection the new, I guess, slight focal point anytime you have someone trying to make a left turn across traffic, right? Get a little bit of a line here. Other than that though, I think it's pretty solid improvement that will, to the theme of the episode, at least buy us time until we get to explore the tools in 4.2 that may inform a more comprehensive revamp in the way that we handle our traffic. So looking forward to playing around with that when that comes out within a week as of the time of this recording, actually. So next couple episodes probably incorporate some of that. Looking forward to it. We are way over time again, though, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a day for now. But I think there was a lot of little progress again today, which is fantastic, but it's also really set the table nicely, I think, for aluminum next time. So if you are excited for the space race, well, good news. That begins in earnest tomorrow. So make sure to come by again if you are excited. I know I certainly am. But until the next episode, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.